to Wellman. The night was heavy with rain, the kind that blurred streetlights into halos and made the pavement glisten like black glass. The woman pulled her coat tighter as she crossed the near-empty parking lot, her boots splashing in shallow puddles. The grocery bag in her hand rustled softly, the faint scent of oranges and bread mixing with the metallic tang of wet asphalt. Her mind was elsewhere. On the quiet apartment waiting for her, the steaming shower she planned to take, the silence she'd grown used to after years of missions that had left her both strong and hollow. From behind a parked van came a whisper, followed by the sound of sneakers scuffing against concrete. Her instincts caught it instantly, the rhythm of fear, the tone of adrenaline. She slowed her step, her pulse steady, every sense sharpening like a blade being drawn. A voice, nervous and cracking, cut through the rain. "Hey, lady!" She turned just slightly, enough to catch the shape of two figures stepping into the flickering light. Teenagers, no older than 17. Their faces were half hidden under dripping hoods, and one held a small pistol that trembled in his hands like a live wire. The woman didn't flinch. She let her eyes settle on them, calm and unreadable. "You sure about this?" she asked quietly. Her tone wasn't mocking. It was low, deliberate, and carried a weight neither of them understood. The boy holding the gun hesitated. His friend elbowed him, muttering, "Do it, man! She's alone!" The gun wavered. He swallowed hard, his voice breaking. "Just give me your purse." Her expression didn't change. She looked at the boy, studying his stance, the way his finger hovered dangerously near the trigger, the awkward grip, the way his shoulders tensed with uncertainty rather than intent. She could see it all. Fear disguised as bravado, desperation trying to look like strength. She tilted her head slightly, her voice dropping lower. "You're holding that wrong." The words hit him like a slap. "What?" he barked, trying to sound braver than he felt. But his heartbeat was loud enough to echo in his ears. She took a small step forward, slow, unthreatening, but measured. "Your thumb's too high," she said. "One shot and the slide will break your hand." Her tone was calm, almost instructional. The boy's eyes widened, confusion flashing through his panic. "What are you talking about?" She let a faint, humorless smile touch her lips. "About how you don't know what you're doing, and how that gun's about to hurt you more than me." The second boy cursed under his breath. "Man, she's crazy. Just take her bag." But neither of them moved. The rain grew heavier, drowning out their ragged breathing. She stood still, her every muscle coiled beneath the surface, ready, waiting for the exact fraction of a second when she'd need to act. Inside, the old part of her, the soldier who had learned to read intent faster than thought, was already counting angles, distances, and outcomes. To them, she was just a lone woman caught in the wrong place. But in her mind, the mission had already begun. In the split second between the boy's shout and the first twitch of his hand, her body moved on instinct. Faster than thought, faster than fear. A sharp, metallic sound rang through the night as her wrist struck his, and the gun went spinning into a puddle. Before he could even register what had happened, his knees hit the wet pavement, the breath knocked from his lungs by a precise strike to his chest. His friend froze, eyes wide, unsure if he should run or fight. "Don't," she warned quietly, her voice cutting through the downpour. It wasn't loud, but it carried authority, the kind that came from command, not threat. The taller boy lunged anyway, swinging wildly. She sidestepped, grabbed his arm, and twisted, a fluid, practiced motion. He went down with a strangled cry, the pain shooting through his shoulder as she pinned him effortlessly. The rain plastered his hood to his face, his breath coming out in sharp gasps. She didn't even seem winded. The first boy scrambled toward the gun, his fingers slipping in the mud, but her boot came down over it before he reached it. She crouched slightly, her eyes locked on his. "That's enough," she said, her voice calm but cold. "You don't want to make this worse." He stopped moving. His hands trembled violently, rain mixing with the tears of shock forming on his cheeks. "What are you?" he stammered, unable to understand how she'd disarmed them so easily. She took a deep breath, her chest rising and falling slowly. Someone who's seen too many kids die because they thought a gun made them powerful. Her gaze flicked between the two of them. One writhing. Clutching his shoulder, the other frozen in place, his fear raw and unmasked. "You don't even know what you were about to destroy." Lightning flashed above, briefly illuminating her face. Her expression wasn't one of anger, but of exhaustion, the kind carried by people who've lived too long with ghosts. The taller boy tried to speak, but his words came out broken. We didn't mean to. We just needed money," she finished for him, her tone softening just slightly. "That's what everyone says before the bullet leaves the chamber." She eased her boot off the gun, kicked it far out of reach, and straightened up. For a moment, none of them moved. Only the rain filled the silence, pounding against the cracked pavement like distant gunfire. The shorter boy finally found his voice. "Please don't call the cops," he begged. We weren't going to hurt you." She gave a faint, almost sad smile. "You already did," she whispered. "You just don't realize it yet." She looked at them. Two scared kids, soaked, shivering. Not hardened criminals, but lost souls standing at the edge of a decision they could never take back. In another life, she thought, maybe someone had warned them in time. But tonight, she was the one who had to show them what real danger looked like. Not to punish, but to make sure they never forgot how close they'd come to dying. The flashing blue lights painted the rain-soaked parking lot in strokes of cold color. By the time the patrol cars arrived, the tension had faded into a strange quiet. Only the hum of the storm and the soft crackle of radios filled the air. The woman stood near her car, coat clinging to her shoulders, hair dripping, her face unreadable. Her grocery bag was still upright beside her tire, as if the chaos had politely avoided it. Across the lot, the two boys sat on the curb, drenched, trembling, and silent. One held his injured wrist to his chest. The other kept glancing toward her with a mixture of fear and disbelief, as though he still couldn't reconcile what had happened. An officer approached her, stepping carefully through the puddles. "Ma'am, are you all right?" he asked, voice respectful but cautious. She nodded once, not looking at him. "I'm fine." He followed her gaze toward the boys. "You did that?" She gave a small shrug. "They made a mistake." Her tone was flat, distant, not proud, not angry, just tired. The officer crouched beside the boys, checked the gun lying in the water, and let out a low whistle. "These two are lucky," he muttered. "Could have ended a lot worse." She turned her head slightly, her eyes softening. "They're just kids," she murmured. "Scared ones. Don't treat them like monsters." The officer glanced at her, surprised. "You really letting them off easy after they pulled a gun on you?" She finally met his gaze, her eyes sharp yet sorrowful. "You don't come back from a life where every mistake costs blood," she said. "If someone had stopped me at their age, maybe I wouldn't have spent 10 years learning how to kill before learning how to sleep again." The officer studied her for a moment. Then his expression changed, recognition dawning. "Wait," he said slowly. "You're Lieutenant Moore, aren't you? SEAL Team 4? She hesitated, then gave a weary sigh. "Was," she corrected. "A long time ago." He straightened up, a hint of respect in his voice. "Well, ma'am, I guess those boys picked the wrong woman to mess with." She didn't answer. Instead, she looked at the squad car as the two young men were gently guided inside. They didn't resist. The taller one kept his head down, but the smaller turned his face toward the window, eyes wide, searching for hers. Their gazes met for a moment, and in his, she saw the same thing she'd seen on battlefields long ago, the look of someone who'd brushed against death and realized how fragile life really was. She took a deep breath, the rain cooling her face, and gave him the smallest of nods. No anger, no victory, just a silent promise that this night didn't have to define him. The car doors shut, and the flashing lights began to fade into the storm. When the parking lot was quiet again, she leaned back against her car, the sound of rain surrounding her like distant applause. Her hands trembled slightly, not from fear but from memory. She looked down at her reflection rippling in a puddle and whispered to herself, "Still fighting battles I didn't ask for." Then she exhaled, picked up her groceries, and walked toward the darkness, her silhouette dissolving into the rain. The calm, haunted figure of a Navy SEAL who knew that true strength wasn't in how fast you could end a fight, but in knowing when to stop one.